Looks like a tiny baked potato, doesn't it? Well, inside this package is something a little bit different than a baked potato. Here, let me show you. This is what's inside. I know what you're thinking. I know what you think it looks like, but it's not that. What this is this is an owl pellet. An owl pellet is the parts of a food that an owl just can't digest. And that is going to be the subject of our lab for the next couple of days. We're going to take a look at what's inside this. To explain a little bit more about owl pellets is my friend here.
So, how do you think owls eat their prey? That's right, Squeaks. They eat it whole. They might use their beaks to break it up a bit before they swallow it, but when an owl eats something, it just gulps down the whole thing. They even swallow the parts of food that they can't digest. We don't eat bones or teeth or hair or feathers because, well, that doesn't sound very good, but also because it wouldn't do us any good. We can't digest those things, so our bodies can't turn them into energy. And that's true for owls too. They can't digest bones, teeth, fur, or feathers. So what does an owl do with all of those parts that we would leave on our plate? Well, all birds have a special part of their digestive system called the gizzard, and it helps them either break down their food, like how we chew, or filter out what they can't digest. In owls, their gizzard filters out all the things that they can't digest. This way, they swallow the parts that are good for them, and they hold the other stuff like bones and fur in their gizzards. But what does it do with all the stuff that it can't digest? Their gizzard compacts or squishes it together into a little pellet. And when the gizzard is full, the owl regurgitates it or spits it up. That little glob of bones and fur and other stuff is an owl pellet.
Hey, thanks, Jesse. We really appreciated that information all about owl pellets. Did you hear that? That sounded like an owl getting ready to... Let's look for it. I know I heard it. Where's it at? Oh, there it is.
Oh, hey, Mr. Owl. Hey, is it cool if I have that? Thanks.
Whew. We were pretty lucky to get that one, weren't we? Awesome. Let's go take a look at what this looks like underneath our scopes. Here's our owl pellet that we're going to use for our dissection of this. As you can see, through my camera on the phone, you can see it's got a lot of different little grooves. It looks like it's got some hair on it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it underneath the stereoscope right now and get a more real close, in-depth view of what some of these things are. We're zoomed in about 20 times right now, and looking at this owl pellet, you can see the little pieces of hair and fur that are in there. Some of the white pieces, those are bones that are sticking out. Let's zoom in here. If I was going to take a guess, this looks like part of a scapula or the shoulder of some sort of organism. All right, can you flip it over? Yeah, move it around a bit. I want to see the edges too. This definitely looks like some sort of leg bone or maybe arm bone of an organism. I think it's time to open this thing up and see what's inside. Let's get set up. At this point, let me be a little bridge between the two sections that of the one you just watched and what you're going to watch. What you've just watched was about owl pellets and what they are. We are going to now dissect, or you're going to watch an example of me dissecting one in order to see how you should dissect one of these when you get your owl pellet in the next class. So the reason that scientists study owl pellets is they can get an idea of what's living in an environment, and those owls regurgitating those bones is a good indicator for scientists of what kind of organisms are there, maybe how many are there, If you don't see many bones, maybe some sort of organism is waning, and scientists would want to find out why. So we're going to get into this, and you're going to see me right now take apart the bones, lay them out, and you're going to get the idea of what you need to do with your own owl pellet. So I'm going to start by, I've got tools here. I've got some picks that I could use to manipulate. I'm just going to go ahead right now and get in there with my hands and just start breaking some of the bigger parts off, and then we'll do some more of the smaller ones. Ooh, and right away I can see it looks like I've got a big skull here. See the top of the skull right there. Let's get into it. Looks like some sort of bird.
I was wrong about that skull looking like a bird or being a bird skull. I thought it was at first because of the beak out front, but then I saw underneath it has some teeth. That's the upper jaw of what is definitely on my chart over here, I would say fits to be a rodent.
So I've placed my rodent skull over there, and now I'm going to get into some of these other bones here and still continue to break apart this owl pellet. I definitely found something, another big piece, and I noticed there's teeth there, but I'm going to take a look on my chart, and this looks, yes, right here, it looks like that is the jaw, maybe of the same rodent. Maybe I got the top part and then the jaw, the bottom jaw part. Let's see what else is inside here. Definitely something else bigger here, so I'm going to take my time and go through it nice and slow. The toothpick is a really good, useful tool for getting little pieces off there. So maybe if you got some kind of another small probe or other toothpicks at your house, this besides the ones that were in your bag, you could go ahead and use that, but this is very useful for getting in those little tight areas. I'm going to dare to say that I've got another jaw, and it's probably the other side of the jaw to that rodent, so I might have a complete skull here of that rodent. All right, now it's the little stuff time. I'm going to start going in here and finding all the little tiny bones, like ribs and parts of the limbs of all these different things, the scapulas, all these little things. Let's see what we can find.
So here's my workstation. I'm pretty much done. I'm still going to go through and sift out some of these parts because I can still see there's some little bones. There's some little bones where I was working, but then I was making my pile of bones I definitely pulled out and cleaned well. So I go from larger up there down to the smaller, what looks like, I'm going to find out here, looks like ribs, but I'm going to use my identification chart here, and I'm going to lay those bones out and see what I have. So here's my sheet of all the bones that I think that I've identified. A lot of rodent bones there, a lot of a rat, possibly mouse. It looks like I've got a lot of bones from a mole as well. So my owl pellet contained two larger types of organisms that my owl ate. Now, if you wanted to, you could go through on this next sheet here and you could see which parts of that rat from that rodent section you can fill out. So I'm done for now with my owl pellet. Found all my little pieces, lined them all up on my owl pellet bone chart, and then I tried to lay some out to see how many parts of that rat that I had. All right, so that's how you dissect an owl pellet. So we'll see you later. Be sure these owl pellets are sanitized, but be sure toss everything out and wash your hands up really good.